Hey guys, welcome back to my coverage of the tournament last weekend with Shasvastii, playing 5 rounds with the Alien Sectorial, and going well. Obviously, if you've watched my last 3 bat reps, we've concluded the first day with 3 wins. It's a 3-0 outcome for the first day, Saturday, and then 2 more rounds to play to try and get to the end. Now, for this 4th round, I am up against the only other person in the tournament who has won 3 of their games. So everybody else, apart from us two, are defeated. We are the only 2 undefeated players left. And we find out that the pairings have given me my good buddy Garth, who you've seen many times in my bat reps before. He plays JSA and he plays Vanilla Yu Ching. I've been playing Garth, I think, around about an average of once a month for the last 2 years, so I know what he plays in his lists. I know how he plays. He knows me very well and how I play. But he's been on form this weekend. His dice have been hot. He's got a lot of momentum and confidence going into this, and so do I. So it ought to be a good game to largely determine the final standings. Now, we have drawn the supplies mission, so I've started the photography off by just taking a picture of the battlefield, and I'm just going to run you through this. Okay, so looking here, if we draw a line through the middle, in fact, I'm going to grab a different color. So what color are we going to go with today? Pink. So the middle objective side and there. Okay, so 3 crates, which we need to pick up. If you're a doctor, you get a bonus for grabbing the crates. Sometimes some people play these as markers where the container disappears. Other times you just put a disabled marker next to it and you take the things away. Now I've got my deployment over here, and S for Shasvastii and JSA over here for Japanese. Now, first piece of bad luck to begin this round is that I lose the face-to-face roll for the lieutenants. My opponent immediately picks the first turn. So the dice roll for Lieutenant is really important in a tournament like this, so a bit of bad luck failing it, but at least it means I can deploy second and get the last turn of the game. So my strategy is going to be to try and maintain a few different paths to victory, hopefully by withering his forces a bit and picking off key targets, and then in my final turn, moving through with a model like Shishkin Speculo and actually killing whoever is holding the boxes and just pick them back up off him. So that might be a viable way of winning. Other than that, we've both got a couple of classifieds each, and let's just get into it. So first, Noctifer deployed on the top of the building in the center. The second one to the far left, standing up so it could see along through this alleyway, and the third one deployed right behind my R drone. And quite crucially, this particular guy has a sight line through the middle and through here, just sort of intersecting the table and right around in the corner. So anything coming through there might get shot at. You can also see my R drone here. So this is the location of that Noctifer, and there's another one up top here, prone next to the corner. You can sort of see the silhouette of my Shrouded up through here, but he's actually in the middle of the table. Just the perspective should help you out with that one. Asswang Lieutenant at the top. Shishkin herself down is behind this little barrier along with her friendly Icodron. So that is what my right-hand side is looking like. There's the Shrouded in the middle, just hanging out somewhere close to the objective. So if he doesn't go straight for the objective, I might be able to go after it later on. And on the left-hand side, we've got Dr. Worm and the Icodron and Bit and Kiss are hidden inside the building here. So that building you just saw, they are in here just next to the door. So Bit on the right, Kiss on the left. My opponent is a really big fan of the new Ryukin Unit 9 model, so he's actually got 2 of them. So one of them's here, and the other one's here, and they have a respective mine here and here. Mines are really going to help him defend, because he knows I'm going to be coming after the baggage boxes, so the mines are going to help with that. He's got his lieutenant on the bike. This is one of the new cat lady sort of bikers. She's going to be moving out first turn under the cover of smoke as a specialist to actually whip up the boxes if she can. We've also got the Warcore here. The Kaisotsu Link team, there's a Kempai inside the building. There's 3 of them around here, and the missile launcher up on top. And then further to the left, you won't be able to see it in this photo, but a Rushi. Okay, so here's a bit of a better image. One thing I missed of the previous photo is his hacker, which is right at the back. You can see there 3 Kaisotsus. This one here is actually an HMG, and it does have line of sight along this angle here, although not in line of sight of my Noctifers. Importantly, this Kaisotsu here is in line of sight of one of my Noctivus, so if he moves the rest of the Link team, he's going to get a free hit with the missile from hidden deployment. And he knows that as well. The guy's, you know, he's smart enough to understand that that's what's going to happen. The Rushi down the bottom left here as well, and you can see the Ryokan there. My reserve model is a Specular Killer, just hanging out right next to the Hacker. Now, I know that if he does spend some time discovering the Specular and taking it out, it's going to take at least 3 orders to do that, and he's already going to be deprived of 2 thanks to the command token spent at the start of the game, so that means he's not going to be able to have a lot of orders to pick up the boxes, so I feel like my Specular is fairly safe here, and that's going to allow me in my turn to move through and actually fire the boarding shotgun at the 3 members of his Link team back here, possibly even clipping the Rushi, so that is the plan of attack. First turn to knock out a few models by doing that. Second turn, maybe taking out the missile launcher and weakening a few other models. And then final turn, pushing through and doing the crippling finishing move with Shishkin, hopefully picking up a box on the way. So in his opening turn, he uses the irregular order, which is obviously not really consequential to the rest of the turn, to actually put the Walker out where it will be able to send off a Discover against the Speculo once I do move out. Then, of course, it's his main game plan. Saito Dogan is revealed from the center of the table, throws a smoke grenade landing here, and that's going to allow him to come up next to the objective. Note that there's a gap here, but, of course, the biker base is large enough that he's still going to be touching the smoke when he moves out there to touch the middle objective. And, of course, this is going to block line of sight from all of my Noctivas. So Bike Lieutenant comes screaming through here, hits the console and manages to pass the whip check to retrieve the supply crates. Then he's zooming away back into friendly territory and just coming all the way back here. Saito also comes back around and throws another grenade to block off this other area, so he's going to be able to go for a secondary supply crate. And of course, since he's a specialist, that's going to enable him to move out as well. So my opponent, using some coordinated orders here, is going to move all the way from the middle of the table, zooming around here with the bike efficiently with the little supply crate in the baggage box. It's a pink donut, as you can see, and is going to be able to get to safety. So quite a solid play here to start us off. And Saito also moving to the objective. My opponent generally passing whip checks fairly reliably here without too many failures, so is able to move back into the side of the table turn 1 with 2 supply crates done. And that's how you complete this mission. And that's why passing the lieutenant check at the start of the game is so important. But I'm not out of it. There are definitely ways that I can come back and punish him for this. Also putting down an additional mine with his Ryuken. So my turn, I'm deciding to go for it. I just don't want to leave the Specular lingering around, especially as he's accomplished his main task. He can now turn his attention to killing the Specular if I just leave it there. So moving through here with the second short skill, moving here over again. There's no way that he can really discover the Specular. If a whole bunch of guys declare Discover, they can only take him down an impersonation level, and then when they discover him again the next order, they can only take him back into model state out of marker state. So I'm going to be able to get to where I need to get to. Once the Specular finally gets into position, you can see here what I'm going to need to do. So the very technical, careful play is to move just carefully around to the side of the corner. You want to target this model here with the initial shotgun blast. It is possible to leave this model out of line of sight of the line. Note that everybody's prone. And this will allow me to move around, not prone by the way, I want to be able to see over the first model, and draw a line so that I'm actually going to be able to connect with these two with the boarding shotgun blast. But because the boarding shotgun is a funnel, like this, it's going to also clip this guy as well. So the first shot, number 1, is going to be against this guy as a face-to-face roll to hit these guys with the template. But the secondary shot will actually be, I'll just switch colors now to a red. The second shot will nominate this guy so that the second boarding shotgun template will hit the Rushi. So I'll be rolling a single dice, and it will be face-to-face roll against 1, 2, and 3. And then the second dice will be a face-to-face roll against this guy here and this guy here. So that is exactly what happens. My opponent actually opts to dodge with the guys in the Link team just because he feels he can get a shot off with the biker chick and maybe the Warcore or whoever else as I'm coming around the corner as a face-to-face, and hopefully will kill me and keep the Kaisotsus alive. So the boarding shotgun goes off, 2 hits, one of them against all 3 of the Kaisotsus, the other hit against the Rushi. The Rishi loses the face-to-face roll, unfortunately takes a wound and goes unconscious. The HMG manages to fail his dodge check and does get hit by the boarding shotgun blast, but the other guys manage to survive. So I got 2 kills out of that, trading in 1 specular killer. Not fully what I was hoping for, but again, against a Link team, it's quite hard to beat them because of their bonus, 6 cents obviously, and you've only got 1 dice with 1 boarding shotgun hit, so you can't expect the world out of this, but it would have been really awesome to have got all 4 models. That would have been the ultimate dream, but statistically that wasn't really going to be happening. So the Speculo dropping unconscious. Now, I was sort of secretly hoping that my opponent would forget that it has an auto medkit. So I didn't really say anything about there. It's like, cool, unconscious, moving on with the game. Bit and Kiss now moving out. Now, I felt like at this point I had a few orders left, but not enough orders that I could really commit with Shishkin. I don't want to leave Shishkin out in the middle of the table because then, you know, ninjas start showing up and bad things happen. So these guys moving over here, the plan is to take this objective and move back around here potentially, or even use my data scan classified to go after this guy. But sadly, moving over to the objective, absolutely failing my my whip checks, detonating a mine with Bit, by the way, and failing whip checks to go after the objective. I tried shooting a repeater over near to where the hacker was, failed the repeater face-to-face, sorry, the repeater to land it, didn't manage to pull that off. So Walker over there didn't. I think I managed to shoot the Walker with a submachine gun, but sadly, Bit and Kiss have to sort of retreat, go prone behind the objective, and get nothing for it. I didn't even manage to pick up the box, so unlucky. So they decided to retreat back here where they're a lot safer. You can also see my HVT hanging out around the side. Okay. Actually, I don't think I did detonate that mine after all. I decided just to avoid it. His lieutenant has just moved a bit further closer inside the protection of this little enclosure. Now, my opponent had previously in deployment passed a superior deployment role for the Oniwaban, who appears here now, and has a bit of a shootout with my flashball spot. He does this in a line of sight of a hidden deployment Noctifer with assault pistol, but I feel like if I'd revealed it, then he just hits me with the assault pistol, and the shock ammunition gets past dogged, and if I get unlucky there, it's just really bad for the Noctifer. So I decided not to do that. So after the Oniwaban successfully destroys the art drone, moves around here past the unconscious model, you can see how close he is to my guy, but I decided not to reveal the Noctifer. Shrouded reveals himself to go for a discover, just because if he does shoot at me, then I can reveal the Noctifer after he's come out of Marker State. Lieutenant, unfortunately, doesn't get line of sight there, so he's just continuing to move around. So at this point, I realized that he could be going for Shishkin with the submachine gun, which could be bad. So revealing my Noctifer just to go for a delay, but it's too late. He's already in position. So does decide to move in, gets into close combat. It's a surprise attack against Shishkin. The Oniwaban is already a little bit better than Shishkin in close combat, thanks to Martial Arts Level 3 being better than Prathion Level 3 in general for these one-on-one encounters. But the -6 for surprise attack is really what does it. The Oniwaban here needs to not flub his roll. Like if he rolls a 2 and I roll like a 10 or something like that, then that's it. He's probably going to die. But he's adding, I think, +4 to his dice roll, or even +7 to his dice roll, and I'm adding only like I'm heading on an 18 after the surprise attack's factored in. So predictably, the Oniwaban wins. The monofilament blade goes straight through Shishkin and kills her. I didn't even pass the BTS check. Actually, no, he rolled a 16, so it was a crit. And even the flamethrower from the Icodron just doesn't kill him. It bounces off and just reduces him to mimetism. So my opponent, getting all the right dice rolls, then does move into close combat with the Icodron and I think dodges, so survives the secondary attack. So things going pretty badly in that regard. Elsewhere, Saito just correcting his position a little bit, getting behind the crates. My opponent here, it's my second turn. I don't know why he's got his template out. I think he was just checking a measurement for something. But anyway, the Shrouded is one of my only remaining attack pieces. So the Shrouded moving through, he's going to pull around to a point here where he can just engage the Kaisotsu. Now, the Kaisotsu is reduced to like a 4-man link, and he'll be at the 0 range band, so he'll be hitting on like 6s, 4s even. It's Blister Skill 10, minus camo, minus cover. So he'll be hitting on 4s and 2 dice. So he decides just to dodge. The Shrouded, fortunately, does manage to get his combi rifle to kill him. So with this shootout between the Kaisotsu on the left and the Shrouded on the right, the Shrouded is successful. Now I've got to start taking some risks here. I really want to move around to the back of his lines to kill the Kaisotsu, which is overlooking the body of the Speculo. That way I can potentially revive the Speculo with auto medkit. It does mean I'm moving past this Ryukin. Saito's behind cover here, but the Ryukin is shooting at long range, hitting on a 2. So I decided just to, I've got to take risks at this point. I am losing the game on attrition, so I've decided to take some risks, moving out, just ignoring the shot at long range and continuing to move. The Ryukin misses the first shot, very blurry photo, but as the Shrouder moves on the second order behind cover here, the Ryukin gets another go at it. So I just ignore the shot from the Ryukin again, shoot at the Kaisotsu at close range with the combi rifle, successfully destroying the Kaisotsu since he's only in a 3-man link up against a Shrouded, but the Ryukin rolls like a 2 to hit. Oh, not a 2, like a 1. Something that doesn't crit but does hit me. Fail the armor save, and the Shrouded is killed by the Ryukin, which was really annoying. I gave him 2 normal rolls on like a 2 or a 3 to hit, and he did pass one of them, and I failed the armor save. So a little bit unlucky, but I was taking a risk. I have to admit that, risky play, and, didn't pay off. It does enable me to roll an auto medkit check for the Shrouded, though. So not the Shrouded, the Specular Killer, and hoping for a pass there so I can use the Specular later on to go after his lieutenant, but failed that one as well, and the Speculo is removed from play. So things going pretty badly in terms of dice. All right, elsewhere, I'm correcting the positioning of my Tio Camo model here, the missile launcher, a little bit. So in his turn, he destroys the Icodrome with the good old Oniwaban, and I believe possibly picks up a classified from that. I think the coup de grace. I have also revealed a camo marker out here just because I'll be giving myself an additional order in my final turn. So you can see his hand in the bottom left, top left of the photo. This is him revealing a ninja. I am revealing my Noctifer in response, not to attack him, but to grant myself that additional order later on. So the ninja, although you can't see it in this photograph, moves over to here where he's sort of behind the building, and he's going into a bit of a hacking contest with Bit. Now, Bit is BTS 6, Whip 13 has a Maestro, whereas the ninja has 2 attacks with a Red Rum. So it's slightly favored for the ninja given the 2 dice, but doesn't manage to win the face-to-face roll. Doesn't die either, so it's a bit of a stalemate between him and Bit and Kiss. So there's the ninja in cover behind the other side of that building. Elsewhere, he's just modifying his position a little bit. So we've got the Ryukin hanging out here. We've got Saito hanging out here. He's got a supply crate right here, and he's got another supply crate back here, as we know. The bike has been dismounted, and he's got, I think, 1 Kaisotsu left, as well as the Kenpai time. There is a Noctifer being revealed on the left-hand side of the flank as the other Ryukin moves across this building here. He's trying to get over here to try and plant some decharges and complete the sabotage classified. So the Noctifer is unable to hit the Ryukin as he does this, and the second classified is completed. So with a little bit more positioning, that is basically the end of the JSA turn. I think we're also trying to sort of just sort out this building here as well. You guys can see that there's actually a model here, but due to the wall here, he's not able to really see down onto the immediate bottom level where Bit and Kiss are hanging out. So my turn, seeing an opportunity to maybe get my lieutenant in play, at least, because I'm only on like 5 orders, managing to use the lieutenant token to move down the stairs here and around here. The only Waban, best he can do is discover. He can't really attack my Aswang as he's doing this. Bit and Kiss moving over to the supply crate, still haven't managed to pass a whip check to go for the crate, so giving it 2 attempts, completely failing. I used the first order to kill the ninja with Maestro, but failing 2 whip checks in a row to try and pick up the crate, leaving me with barely any orders at the end to complete this. So sadly, Bit and Kiss just standing out in the middle of nowhere. I was going to try and complete a classified data scan on the ninja, but just terrible luck with the whip checks to only get 1 box, obviously, to bring me back up to speed with the boxes. Aswang moving around the side of the table here. He's going to be going for Saito, so the dude in the distance, not able to discover him in time. He is eventually discovered, though, at a point where he comes back into total cover as he's heading around the right-hand flank of the table, and finally gets into a position where he can shoot at Saito, desperately needing to beat him. Now, Saito's in the good range band, out in the open, so +3 to hit, -6 for Tio Camo, hitting on something like 9s on 3 dice, Saito throwing a single smoke grenade, and very, very fortunately for me, the Aswang does destroy Saito, so he's not holding the box at the end of the game. So Bit's got 1 box, and my opponent's got 1 box. We're equal on boxes thanks to this heroic attempt from the Shasvastii Lieutenant. But unfortunately, my opponent picked up 2 classifiers during the game, and I wasn't able to complete any by the end of that. So it's a loss by a margin of 2 objective points. So just in review of this game, my opponent played pretty well. He did a lot of the right things. I got a little bit unlucky in terms of failed whip checks, some failed face-to-face rolls, not managing to pick up the Specula, obviously, from the auto med kit. I did make a mistake in the sense that I could have done more to put obstacles in the way of the Onuwaban coming after Shishkin. If he had been at all unlucky and lost the Onuwaban against me coming in against Shishkin, then I would have been very well equipped to win the game, because Shishkin was highly likely to be able to beat off the Ryukins and the enemy lieutenant and go after him and pick up the box. So had the dice gone my way a bit better, that would have been great. Also, if I'd won the lieutenant's role, then things would have been different. It would have been me with the specular in the middle of the table, throwing a smoke grenade. Shishkin goes, picks up the box. The box has come over to my side of the table. He's having to come after me for, picking up the objectives. He's having to go through my Noctifers if he does that. So that dice roll at the start of the game was really, really important for determining, the overall winner. I also want to make a comment at this point about ITS. One thing we discussed quite a lot over the weekend is the way that the pack works and the way that tournament points work. So if you guys don't know this already, in ITS, if you lose your game, you get no tournament points. If you get a draw, you get 1 tournament point. And if you have a marginal win, it's 2 points. If you get a difference of 5 or more points, you get 3 points. So I want you to imagine you're going to a tournament where there are 5 rounds. And let's say you win every single round, but only by a basic victory of 4 or less subjective points difference. So you win 5 games at 2 points apiece, you have got 10 tournament points. Now, let's say there's another player who wins every game except for the game they play against you, and they thrash every other opponent by a margin of 5 points or more. So all of their 4 wins yielded 3 points, so 3 multiplied by 4 is 12. So that person ends the tournament with 12 tournament points compared to your 10. So even though you beat that player and went undefeated, you lose, well, you don't lose, you come second in the tournament and they come first. Now, what that means is that the tournament, in a lot of cases, is very much about extraction of tournament points, the margin of victory. It's about beating up on players who are weaker than you. Every time you get matched up against somebody who's got a bad matchup or they're just not very good at infiNity, you kind of need to be really extracting the points. You need to be farming them for points. It's not really good enough to just sort of get these small victories every so often, again, in this system. Now, some people like that way of having a competition. They like the idea that every win sort of matters, and not just every win, every game matters for the total number of points scored. You need to go after your classifieds. You need to go for the big wins. You shouldn't just be sort of going for the small wins, and they prefer that kind of competition. Other players, myself included, prefer events where the player who wins all the games will triumph. The player who beats the best opponents, even if it's just a small win, should be the person who comes first. And generally in other tabletop wargaming systems, that's usually the way of it. I remember playing War Machine of Hordes back in the early sort of 20-teens, shall we call them, and I had a real attrition style playing Kador and Protector of the Menoth factions, where I would always try to win on scenario. I would try to rack up the control points, because if I lost a game, I could still come first in the tournament because I'd have enough tiebreaker points to be placed against the overall leader in the final round and perhaps beat that player. Whereas people who were just going for caster kills and just trying to win each game but weren't getting many points out of it, As soon as they lost a single game, they're just out of the runnings completely. So coming back to the game that I just played against Garth here, I knew that I could not come first after this game. Even if I just thrashed the next player, if Garth, my opponent here, comes up against a draw against the Ariadne player that I just played last round, who's also doing very, very well, those two players would end up in the same tournament points as me, and because they've actually beaten their opponents by margins of like 10-0 for most of the tournament, I've only got a couple of those, I would end up coming like second or third as a result, even though I'd won all but one game. So pretty disheartening for that to happen, although I did have an opportunity to win this game. Quite sadly though, even if I had won this game, and even if I beat the next player I'm up against and win all of the games, either my opponent here, Garth, playing JSA, or the player who I just beat playing Ariadne, because those two players were doing so well on the points of the tournament, either of them could have still come first, even if I'd actually steamrolled the whole thing. So again, it's a bit controversial. Some people like that system, other people don't. If you have a preference for that way of things, the only thing I would say is that if your reason for liking one of the other systems is based on, a particular line of reasoning, a thoughtful sort of, okay, here's why I prefer that, then great. But if you like the way that Corvus Belli does it purely just because Corvus Belli is God and they have decreed that in their holy book of ITS that, this is the way it goes, and, oh, I like Corvus Belli, therefore I like the way that they're doing it. If that's generally your attitude and that's your line of reasoning as to, why you support one, format or another, then I think you should probably have a good hard look at yourself and sort of your attitude towards that kind of thing, because it's really a much better to look at how things affect people and whether they could be better and whether it's more conducive to competition to do it one particular way. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. This is a loss, going into the next round with some optimism and trying to finish the tournament with a high note for the next game. We'll see you guys there.